After 6 years of caring for my mother through cancer, my sister flew in the night before the will was read. She put on tears, spoke at the funeral, then walked out with everything. You got time with her. I got the house, she said. That night, I found the folder Mom hid in her closet, and what was inside could. I was the one who stayed. 6 years. That's how long I put my life on hold. 6 years of chemo appointments, ER visits, sleepless nights, crying behind the bathroom door so Mom wouldn't hear me. 6 years of changing her bandages, helping her shower, holding her when the pain got so bad she begged for death. 6 years gone. And Rachel showed up the night before the will was read. I hadn't seen her in over 2 years. She lived in Manhattan now. Some big marketing job, fancy apartment, always too busy to call, let alone visit. She posted pictures of herself at rooftop bars while I was cleaning up blood-stained sheets at 2 a.m. Mom used to cry sometimes when Rachel didn't call for her birthday. But she never said a bad word about her. Just, she's busy. You know how your sister is. Yeah, I knew. When Mom finally passed, it wasn't peaceful. It was messy, slow, and cruel. She gripped my hand so tight, I thought her bones might break. Her last words to me were, "Thank you for never leaving me." I whispered back, "I love you, Mom," as her breath rattled out one last time. I called Rachel. She answered like I had just interrupted brunch. "Oh no," she said, pausing. "Okay, I'll get a flight." She got in late the night before the funeral. She didn't come to the house. She went straight to the hotel downtown. Wore all black the next morning. Looked like a widow at a movie premiere. Crying into a silk handkerchief, hugging people like we were a big happy family. She gave a whole speech at the service. Talked about how much Mom meant to her. How she regretted not being there more. I stood there holding the urn. After the funeral, we drove straight to the attorney's office. I wasn't expecting much. I figured maybe Rachel would get the New York condo Mom had bought years ago, and I'd get the house I'd been living in and taking care of. Fair enough. But that's not what happened. The will named Rachel as the sole inheritor of the house, the condo, the savings, everything. I got a small checking account with just under $6,000 and some keepsakes. That's it. Rachel didn't even flinch. She leaned back in the leather chair, looked right at me, and said, "You got time with her. I got the house." I didn't say anything. Not there. I walked out of that office, so numb I thought I might throw up. I drove back to Mom's house. My house, the one I lived in, the one I cleaned and maintained and cried in, and just sat on the couch for 2 hours staring at the wall. Rachel was scheduled to fly back the next morning. That night, I started packing some of Mom's personal stuff. I was in her closet, sorting through old sweaters, when I noticed the back panel looked slightly warped, like it had been pulled away and then pushed back. I tugged at it. It popped out easily. Behind it was a manila folder, thick with papers. It was labeled, "In case something happens." Inside, I found letters. Dozens of them. Most addressed to me. Some just notes Mom had written for herself. But there were also legal documents. An earlier version of her will dated just a year before the one that was read. That version left me the house and a portion of the savings. Rachel still got something, but not everything. And then I saw the letter dated March 11th, 2 months before she died. I feel Rachel pressured me. She flew down for a weekend and had me talk to her lawyer. I wasn't feeling well, and I was on pain meds. I didn't understand the changes fully, but she told me it was just simplifying things. I'm not sure now. If you're reading this, please talk to someone. I trust you. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I took the documents to a lawyer a friend had recommended. I gave him everything. He took one look at the March 11th letter and said, "This is serious. You might have a case for undue influence." That kicked off the most painful and bitter year of my life. Rachel fought like hell. Denied everything. Called me greedy. Said I was trying to tarnish Mom's memory. She hired a high-end estate attorney from Charlotte. Told everyone I was unstable from grief. Meanwhile, I had to relive everything. Every moment of those 6 years. I gave depositions, submitted medical records, found a neighbor who remembered seeing Rachel's rental car parked outside the house for less than an hour on that weekend she claimed to have spent caring for Mom. I found text messages from Mom's old phone backing up what she wrote in the folder. It dragged on for 14 months. I kept living in the house the whole time, even though Rachel tried to evict me. She wanted to sell it. I told her she'd have to physically drag me out. I had nowhere else to go. This was my life. The worst part? The lawyer representing the estate kept pushing for a settlement. Said it was cheaper and quicker. But I didn't want money. I wanted truth. I wanted what Mom wanted. And I wanted people to know what Rachel had done. Then one day, my lawyer called me. He said, "You might want to sit down." I sat down like he told me to. My hand was shaking around the coffee cup I hadn't even taken a sip from. He said, "We got something." Rachel's lawyer made a mistake. I didn't say anything. He went on. In the paperwork they submitted to prove the will's validity, there was a witness affidavit signed by one of the lawyers who supposedly met with your mother during the will change. We checked the date. The notary stamp? It's wrong. It says the lawyer witnessed it on April 3rd. But your mother was admitted to the hospital on March 30th and never left. I blinked. Are you sure? He said, "We already got the hospital logs. She was on a morphine drip the entire time. No lawyer visited. No notary. The signature dates don't match up. Either the papers were signed earlier and backdated, or someone faked them." My stomach dropped. He added, "This could be criminal. Fraud. Forgery. Possibly coercion." That changed everything. We filed a motion immediately. We asked for the will to be examined by a handwriting expert. Rachel's team fought it hard, but the judge agreed. A neutral expert was brought in. Weeks later, the results came back. Mom's signature on the last will didn't match her known samples. Not even close. It was a forged signature. Rachel didn't just manipulate Mom. She'd faked her signature to steal everything. I felt like I was going to throw up when I heard the report. All those nights I stayed awake wondering if maybe I was wrong, if maybe Mom had really wanted Rachel to have it all, and I was just bitter. But now I had proof. Cold, hard proof. Rachel had committed fraud. And now the court knew. But instead of backing down, she got nastier. I started getting weird phone calls in the middle of the night. Private numbers. No one on the other end. I'd hang up, and they'd call again. My tires got slashed one night. Another time, someone keyed the side of my car with the word thief. I knew it had to be her, or someone she hired. I called the police, filed reports, but nothing came of it. One afternoon, a woman showed up at the front door claiming to be from an investment firm. She said Mom had an outstanding debt that hadn't been settled. But when I asked for credentials, she got nervous and left fast. I found out later there was no such firm. Just more intimidation. Rachel was unraveling. Her lawyer eventually dropped her. He said she was uncooperative and dishonest. She hired a new one, this time from Atlanta, and tried to delay the court dates again. But by then, the judge was tired of her games. In one hearing, Rachel showed up crying, acting like she was the victim. She told the judge I had poisoned our mother's mind, that I'd manipulated her into writing that note in the closet. She said I was unstable and had probably planted the folder myself. But the handwriting expert shut that down. The folder had Mom's handwriting, and Rachel's lawyer couldn't explain the altered documents or the notary stamp. By then, it wasn't just about the house anymore. The DA's office started asking questions. But here's the twist I didn't see coming. One night, about a week before the next hearing, I got a call from an unknown number. A man's voice came through, quiet and nervous. He said, "You don't know me. My name is Daniel. I used to work for your sister." I didn't say anything. He said, "I helped her with the paperwork." I didn't know at first what she was doing. But after the second visit, I knew. "I'm sorry. I can't hold this anymore. If they ask, I'll testify." Turns out Rachel had paid him under the table to help forge the documents. He was a notary, but he'd been stripped of his license a year earlier for misconduct. She found him through some freelance gig website. Paid him in cash. He said he still had emails and messages from her. And he sent them. When I opened that inbox and saw it, the messages, her own words, asking him to backdate the forms, calling my lawyer a loser, joking about me crying in court. I just stared at my screen for a long time. I forwarded it all to my attorney. And then I sat in Mom's old chair and cried. I wanted to believe it wasn't this bad. That it was just a greedy mistake. That somewhere deep down, Rachel was still the sister I'd built blanket forts with, the girl who used to braid my hair. But no. She was a stranger now. A cruel one. The next week, the judge allowed the evidence to be entered into the court record. And suddenly, Rachel went quiet. She stopped showing up to the hearings. Her lawyer claimed she was under stress. Then he tried to get the case dismissed on a technicality. It didn't work. And here's where things got even more twisted. 3 weeks after Daniel came forward, I got a visit from someone else. A woman in her mid-50s. She introduced herself as Eleanor. She used to be my mom's nurse during her short stay at a care facility 2 years earlier when she had surgery complications. She said something had been bothering her for a while. Eleanor said Rachel had shown up unexpectedly during one of those stays and asked to speak to Mom alone. She was pushy and insisted on privacy. When the nurse came back in later, she found Mom crying. She asked if everything was okay. Mom just shook her head and said, "Don't let her take me home early." She'd written it in her log, but never said anything more at the time. Now, knowing what happened, she couldn't keep it in anymore. I took Eleanor's statement straight to my lawyer. Between that, Daniel's testimony, and the forged documents, the case had transformed into something bigger. The DA was officially looking into criminal charges. Rachel must have sensed it too, because she stopped responding to anything. Vanished. Her condo in Manhattan went dark. Phone disconnected. Her work email bounced back. She was running. But I wasn't done. I wanted her held accountable. I wanted the truth exposed. And I wanted the house. Not because it was just property, but because of what it meant. It was where I fed Mom soup when she couldn't hold a spoon. Where I laid next to her after radiation. Where I held her hand the last night she was alive. It was home. My home. And I wasn't going to let a liar steal it. Weeks passed and Rachel stayed gone. No word. No email. No new court filings. Just silence. Her lawyer filed a motion to withdraw officially, citing client abandonment. It was like she'd disappeared off the face of the earth. I was still living in the house, walking through rooms full of ghosts and memories. I had stopped opening the blinds in the living room. Everything felt still, like the air hadn't moved since Mom passed. Then one morning I got a knock at the door. It was a man in a navy blazer, holding a tablet and clipboard. He introduced himself as Tim, a real estate agent. He asked if I was ready to start prepping for showings. I said, "What the hell are you talking about?" He showed me the listing. Rachel had listed Mom's house, my house, for sale 2 weeks before she vanished. It was already on the market. Photos taken from a listing shoot she must have scheduled during her brief visit. The paperwork had her name on it and mine nowhere. My name wasn't even mentioned as an occupant. Tim looked just as confused as I was. I explained everything. He apologized, said he'd talk to his agency immediately. Within an hour, the listing was pulled down. But it made something clear. Rachel hadn't just tried to steal the house. She'd tried to sell it behind my back. I couldn't believe the level she'd stooped to. And now, with the DA involved, I figured she'd be arrested soon. But weeks passed and nothing happened. I called the DA's office and asked if there was an update. The woman on the phone paused. "We can't locate her," she said. "She didn't board her return flight to New York. We've issued subpoenas for bank and travel records. She's on the radar." Rachel was on the run. Around the same time, I got an email from a name I didn't recognize. Subject line: "You need to see this." I almost deleted it, but something made me open it. It was from a woman named Claire. She worked at a law firm in Long Island and said Rachel had come in months earlier trying to set up a trust. Apparently, Rachel claimed her mother was elderly, confused, and that she needed to move assets for protection. But Claire said something felt off. Rachel had gotten angry when the paperwork required both parties to sign in person. Claire refused to help her finalize it. Now, seeing Rachel's name in a legal bulletin about possible inheritance fraud, she'd connected the dots. She attached the intake notes from Rachel's visit. Sure enough, Rachel had lied to them too.
Claimed mom was alive at the time. She was already dead by then.
That same week, my lawyer got a call from a private investigator, one of the firms he sometimes used for background work. They'd picked up on something. Rachel had changed her name. She filed a legal name change in Maryland, of all places, under the new identity, Erica Weller. She'd used a cousin's old address and a fake story about escaping a domestic violence situation to rush the paperwork. She was trying to disappear and start over. But it gets crazier. She also applied for a passport renewal under the new name, using a stolen birth certificate from an old college roommate she hadn't spoken to in years. She planned to leave the country. I was stunned. The private investigator tracked her down to a rented apartment in Baltimore. She was using a burner phone and had a fake LinkedIn account under her new name, claiming she was an estate consultant. I gave everything to the DA's office. A warrant was issued. She was arrested 2 weeks later trying to board a flight to Costa Rica. I saw it on the news before they even called me. A local outlet had picked it up. Woman caught in inheritance fraud scheme tries to flee country. There was a photo. She looked like a shadow of herself, thinner, paler, the glossy hair gone. Like guilt had been eating her from the inside out. But even after her arrest, things didn't slow down. She made bail somehow. I don't know who paid for it, but she was back out and immediately started posting on some private Facebook group for wrongfully accused women. She called me a predator, said I'd forged the documents, and that the system was rigged. People who didn't know better believed her. I started getting harassed online. Anonymous messages. One guy showed up outside the house one night shouting through a bullhorn about elder abuse. I had to get a restraining order. Had to install cameras around the house. I barely slept. Then one night, I got a call from Rachel. It was after midnight. My phone rang and I didn't recognize the number. I picked up anyway. She said, "You think you've won?" I didn't answer. She said, "You were always the favorite. You think Mom didn't talk about that? You were the martyr. The good one. You don't know what it was like being ignored. You don't know what it's like being told you're second every damn day." Her voice cracked, but I didn't feel sorry. I said, "She begged you to visit. You left her to die alone." Then I hung up. 2 days later, my attorney called again. Rachel had tried to file a civil suit from out of state against me, claiming defamation, emotional distress, and wrongful eviction. It was a Hail Mary move, a last-ditch effort. But I still had to respond. I had to keep paying my lawyer. I had to stay alert. I had to keep proving the truth while the liar shouted lies from the rooftops. And it didn't stop with court. One morning, I found a dead rabbit on the porch. No explanation. Just sitting there, stiff and twisted, like someone wanted to scare me. I checked the cameras. A man in a hoodie had walked up, placed it down, and left. Couldn't see his face. Police came, took a report, said it might be connected, or maybe just a sick prank. At this point, I didn't know who to trust anymore. But what I did know, without any doubt, was that I wasn't going to stop fighting. Mom raised me to stand up for what's right, even when it costs you. And now I was going to finish what she started. Because this wasn't just about property or money. This was about truth, about loyalty, about what happens when someone takes love, twists it into guilt, and then uses that guilt to steal what was never theirs. Rachel had tried to erase everything I'd done, everything Mom and I had been through. But I was still here, and I had more than proof now. I had people behind me, and the next hearing? It was going to change everything. The final hearing came on a gray Monday morning. It was almost 2 years to the day since Mom died. I sat on the same courtroom bench I'd sat on so many times before, but this time it felt different. The courtroom was packed. Reporters in the back. A few locals I didn't recognize whispered when I walked in. Rachel walked in 10 minutes late with a new lawyer. She looked different.
Gaunt.
Hair pulled back too tight. She wore all beige, like she was trying to disappear. Her eyes didn't meet mine. She sat down and just stared at the table in front of her. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Then it began. The DA started first. Laid it all out. The forged documents, the manipulated notary, the false listings, the fake passport application, the name change, the attempt to flee. Every piece of it. They even brought Daniel and Eleanor back in to testify again. Daniel broke down on the stand and said, "I wish I never met her." Eleanor cried. Then they called me. I didn't want to, but I knew I had to. I told the court everything. I talked about the nights I held Mom's hand while she begged for her pain to stop. About how Rachel ghosted her. How she cried every birthday Rachel forgot. How she smiled when I brought her soup and how she whispered, "Thank you," the night she died. I pulled out the last note Mom wrote me, the one I kept in my wallet. It said, "You are my heart. Never doubt that." I read it aloud. Rachel's lawyer objected. Judge overruled. Then Rachel took the stand. She didn't deny it anymore. She said, "I was angry. I hated being the outsider. I hated feeling like nothing I did was ever enough for her. When I found out she was dying, I panicked. I wanted something. I wanted to matter. And when I saw how much she gave my sister, how she trusted her more, I snapped." She turned to me. "You got her love. I got silence." I didn't say anything. She added, "I didn't mean to destroy everything. I just wanted a piece of something before it was too late." The courtroom was dead quiet. No one moved. Then the judge spoke. He said Rachel's actions were calculated, cruel, and criminal. That she not only forged a dying woman's signature, but tried to erase her final wishes. That she'd gone to extreme lengths to avoid consequences. And that she showed no remorse until she was caught. He sentenced her to 5 years in prison for fraud, document tampering, and attempted identity theft. No parole for at least 3 years. She gasped. Her hands shook. She turned to me again, but I looked away. But it didn't end there. The civil court ruled next. The house, Mom's savings, and assets were all returned to me. The original will was reinstated. The forged one was void. I was named the executor of the estate. But the court also looked at me. During the review of the estate finances, it came up that I'd used some of Mom's account money toward the end to cover expenses, things like the mortgage, groceries, her medication. Stuff I didn't keep perfect records for. A total of around $19,000 over 2 years. Nothing illegal, but the court said I should have been more careful. They made me pay a small penalty for mismanagement of estate funds. I had to write a full accounting and take a financial ethics course. That stung. But I accepted it. Because they were right. I'd been sloppy. Not dishonest, but careless. I wasn't perfect. I let the guilt and grief mix together until I didn't know what was right sometimes. I let anger eat at me. I stopped living a real life for 2 years. I gave up friendships.
Pushed people away.
I poured everything into Mom, and then into revenge. But I don't regret fighting. Rachel deserved what she got. She tried to steal not just money or a house, but memories. She tried to erase the truth. After she was taken away, I stood in the empty courtroom alone. My lawyer came up and said, "It's done." I nodded. The house was mine. Mom's memory was safe. And Rachel was where she needed to be. I spent the next few months clearing out the attic. I found old photos I hadn't seen in years. A cassette tape of Mom singing to us as kids. I played it one night. Her voice filled the house, echoing off the walls. I cried for hours. Eventually, I sold the condo in New York. Used the money to fix up the house, pay the fines, and make it feel new again. I even turned Mom's old sewing room into a small studio where I started writing. Not for revenge. Just to heal. One day, I got a letter from Rachel. From prison. It said, "I'm sorry. I can't undo what I did. I don't expect forgiveness. But I want you to know you did right by her. Even if I couldn't." I read it once and burned it. Some wounds don't heal. But the house is quiet now. Safe.
Honest.
And sometimes at night, when the wind moves through the trees just right, I swear I can still hear Mom humming from her old room. Justice doesn't bring peace, but it brings clarity. And that's enough for me.